Hi everyone. So we have a special guest tonight. So she's a copywriter too, and I'm just meanwhile, if you have any questions, just feel free to add them, put them in the box below, the question box below, and I'm just adding what she's doing. Hello.
Hi, can you hear?
Hi. Yeah, I can. You're properly audible. How are you?
I'm really good, Giovanni. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good too. So, would you like to tell me how to pronounce your name? I was reading it. I was not able to understand properly.
Okie dokie. So I'm Natalie Milligan, and I'm a content copywriter for small creative businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs. It's lovely to be here with you, Shivanshi. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's great to have you here. I mean, it's actually very good because, Instagram Live gives us an opportunity to have people from across the world at a single platform. So it's a good exposure to talk to different people.
Ah, no, it's great. It's lovely to connect because we've been speaking for a little while, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And so
I
it's
think
nice out. Yeah.
yes, for so long time we have been discussing about the live, but some or the other thing come up, and we're like, not this week, maybe next week, maybe next weekend, maybe next weekend. We
Yeah,
just have
exactly.
been postponing it.
Exactly.
How's everything going around?
Everything's really good. Everything's really good. I was so happy when you reached out and said you wanted to talk about how to overcome writer's block because I think it's something that so many people struggle with or they believe they struggle with, and I think there's so many different ways that we can overcome it. So this is a great conversation to have, not just for copywriters but anyone really who has their own creative business or they're blogging or
Creative block.
creative.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right,
that's
right,
it.
right,
That's it.
right. Right.
Exactly.
It's very true. I mean, initially, I don't know if you faced it, but initially, when I started off, I thought that if I'm not able to write something, it's my fault. And this is not natural. As a writer, you're supposed to write 24/7. That was the perspective I had. And slowly and gradually, I realized, no, okay, you're a person, you're allowed to have breaks, and it's okay. But somehow, I was able to figure out a few methods to actually overcome that.
Exactly. We're just programmed, I think, to be able to write like that. Like well, the moment we sit down, we need to. How is that even possible? Where did we learn that? And I think as creative people, we have to be a little bit kind to ourselves and allow ourselves that time to have some space and know that if it's not coming straight away, that sometimes taking a break or changing, for example, our environment or going for a walk or, you know what I mean, distracting ourselves from actually sitting there and looking at a blank screen, you know, like I have to write something, oh my God, it's
That's a That's at a different level altogether.
absolutely.
Very true. Very true. Very true. It's good to know that you faced it too. Because I thought I'm the only one who's putting too much pressure on myself.
Oh no, and I think as well. I mean, it's so funny. I was having a conversation recently with my husband, and we were talking about because he's another creative soul, and we were talking about even the words like writer's block, writer's block, like how kind of disempowering that is, and how you know what I mean, debilitating it is to.
Hmm.
I've got a block, something that stops me. I can't move forward. You know what I mean? You're kind of taking away your power. And you know what I mean? And I just
Yeah.
think it's sometimes we just have to reframe it. It's the language we use that we tell well, like I've got writer's block. It's like, do you really like you might, but like really is it helping you? Is it serving you to say I have writer's block? Isn't it better to actually come at it from the perspective of, you know what, it's just not flowing right now. That creative energy is just not coming through right now. And I'm gonna be kind to myself and I'm gonna just shut the laptop down or put the pen down and I'm gonna go for a walk. Because also I think, there's whole science, isn't there, in like the power of moving your body, the power of changing your state. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
sitting yeah, if you're sitting there and it's not happening, then how about you get up and you go take a walk, or you have a shower? I mean, there's even just power in having a shower, you know, and just have.
Very powerful. It's
Isn't
very
it?
powerful. Yeah, it is. I mean, it cleanses your mind at a level that you cannot think of. I mean, just take a good bath for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, or 1 hour. I mean, extend it as much as we want. But it's definitely at the end, towards the end, it's worth it. Maybe play some nice music that you really like. Do something that you
Fan. No, put on some music and go and dance, or take the dog for a walk, or you know what I mean. And actually, water in itself is very powerful. Like I've heard of people, other writers who they would wash the dishes. You know, they just go, they'd change their state and go and they'd wash the dishes, and ideas just seem to come, because I think flowing water or whatever is incredibly, you know, incredibly getting those ideas out. You know. So there's loads of things, but that's like we're gonna dive. You're gonna dive into loads of.
I mean, washing dishes is something that
ideas.
No, continue.
Yeah, go on, darling. Go.
No, I was just saying that washing dishes.
We're gonna dive in.
Okay, you go on. Go on.
The lag, there's a time lag.
Yeah, I think that there's some sort of time lag.
Okay, meanwhile, if you have any questions, I think one of you asked me a question, Ramsundara, if I'm correct, you asked me a question in the last slide. So we will be answering all the questions that you have. Don't worry about that. Just give us the whole time to actually discuss the topic that we have for today. After the
topic is about to get over, we will be adding to, like, we will be
answering all the questions that everyone has. Okay. So keep adding your questions. And we'll definitely get back to you. Meanwhile,
I'm fine to that. Yeah. Hi. There was some internet issue from my end. I don't know what exactly happened.
No, it's okay. It's good. We're back. We're together again. It's fine.
Yeah, that's great. That's important.
Same thing.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, I mean, for the very first time, I heard something that people like to actually overcome the concept of writer's block itself. Someone is recommended to wash dishes. I mean, in India especially, we have a maid, okay? So I have a house help and she helps us with cooking and all that stuff. I never go to the kitchen and actually take care of washing dishes or something around it. I don't know how it feels. I don't even want to feel, maybe.
I get that. I think it's just this idea of, I think, water just being quite therapeutic, you know?
Maybe.
You know, when people say they go to the beach, you know, like just thinking of like waves and all of that, like if you have that opportunity to get somewhere where there's water, then it can be quite stimulating as far as triggering ideas and getting those creative juices flowing. But ultimately, changing your state, ultimately it's just, if you're sitting at your desk and it's not coming, then let's get up, let's move our bodies, let's change, you know, in what our focus is. And you just never know. Sometimes I even like will color with my daughter. You know, she has like books. I will just color with her, and ideas just, when I'm not thinking about work or I'm not feeling under pressure to produce content, and I do something else, it can stimulate ideas.
Right. I think the whole concept behind whatever we do to overcome the writer's block, I mean, so from my end, what I'm able to understand is basically changing environment. There are a few things. I mean, I have a plant on my desk all the time. This was gifted by one of my friends, and it is still there on my desk all the time. I keep it just behind my laptop. I don't know, it just gives me good vibe altogether. So having a good environment helps a lot. That's one of the things.
100%. Yeah, our environment is like I think it can reflect what's going on in here, you know, like, so if you have your desk and your desk is all cluttered and it's messy and there's loads of just like junk on it, how are you going to create like from a place of like abundance if there's just mess around, right? So definitely there's some truth, I think, in what you're saying, with just putting some things in order, setting your environment up for success, so to speak, whatever success is for you on that particular day, if it's just to get that blog post out, or it's just to write that email, or it's just to, you know, write the pitch, or whatever it is that you need to create that day, set up your environment, your headspace in the right way so that you can produce the best results.
Very true, very true. I mean, I want to show, just give me a second, let me show you something. So this is a space where I have kept all the sticky notes. And I love it. I love this space. I mean, it has all the sticky notes. There's some things that I've written on the wall from a marker. Then there's some posters. I love it that way. Then I have a board. I keep writing random stuff that would not even make sense to what I'm doing right now, but just like it. Some quotes, some things. And one thing about these sticky notes is you always get idea when you're out of ideas.
100%. 100%. I love that idea. Yeah. And I think, and just to follow on from that, is sometimes ideas are all around us, but we don't even realize. And I think as content creators, say as copywriters, if we have to create content on a regular basis, I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is to try and start from scratch. Instead, you want to collect inspiration and ideas throughout your day, your week, whatever, as you're going around your life and living your life. Collect it and have somewhere like a content bank, somewhere where you can just store all these ideas. Like you've got the
exactly.
I love the sticky note idea. But if you're someone who likes, like, you know, a digital kind of format, and somewhere like Google Drive or Asana, or, you know, Trello, whatever your kind of your setup is, have somewhere where a filing system where you can just collect ideas and then just compartmentalize those little files, so you might have different themes and different buckets that you can throw it in. So if, for example, you are I don't know, let's just say you're a cook, you're a cook, and you have recipes that you produce or whatever, and you write a blog about it, you can have like recipes, you can have ingredients, you can have, you know, the different buckets, you know, you can have bake all different types of foods, like sweet, savory, you know, all these different ideas. You put it all together, then when it comes to sitting down to write, you're not trying to draw inspiration out of nothing. You're actually somewhere to go and tap into, and, you know, and in turn draw inspiration from an actual source, you know?
Exactly. That's very true. I mean, even now, like apart from sticky notes, there's a diary that I have. It has been divided into sections, one for Instagram, one for LinkedIn. I put it as per the social media platforms I have. And because you know what sort of content will work on what with social media, so I put it in that section itself. Then third thing that I personally love and is the most handy thing to do is the phone. I always have that, like, you have option to add 5 icons towards the like on another in the main menu. I add a voice recorder too. And whenever I feel there's something, this is the idea that I have. And then I have hundreds of voice recordings, and now even I'm out of the context at what all I've recorded there.
I love it.
But it's amazing.
It is
actually
amazing.
Worth giving a shot.
I love that. And you know, one thing else, like sometimes if we just rewind, I love that idea. Honestly, that's amazing, because I use voice notes, and we've got this device again. Just before I backtrack, we've got our phones in our hands that
all the time.
So make use of it. You know, it's got all this functionality. Tap into it and use it to your advantage. Like you said, record your notes. An idea comes, get it in there as an audio file if that's how you prefer, or or type it in, whatever's easiest for you. I was just going to backtrack slightly, because sometimes when we are trying to think of ideas to write, it's because we think we've got to talk about a lot of things. So sometimes we want to get clear on where we sit in the market. So say, for example, as a copywriter, as a content copywriter, for me, for example, I may write about, say, brand story or brand messaging. So I now know that these are 2 of my pillars in my business that I'm going to write about. So I have a theme, I have a context. Does that make sense? You know, so I don't have to think massive or like wider than I need to go. Just literally stay in my lane. I know who I'm talking to, and that's really important as well, just to know who you're talking to when it comes to ideas. Right, who are you going to talk to? Who are you talking to? And if you weren't going to write it, this is another little hack. If you weren't going to write it and you were just going to speak, like right now, you and me, my darling, having this conversation, there's no writing block right now. We're not experiencing any block, any verbal block. This conversation is going back and forth, happy days, right? So sometimes you're going to, I think, shut the laptop, put down the pen, and imagine just speaking it to a friend. If you were going to have to say what you need to say, whatever that topic is, imagine you were going to just say it verbally to a friend, just a conversation. How would that go? How would that go?
Okay.
It will be really free-flowing, you know, like, and as you're starting to talk, she or he might come back and have a response, and then that gives you an idea of what you'd say in return. This is actually, without you realizing it, giving you a bit of form and texture or context to how you would write your blog post, for example, if that's what you were trying to write, because you've got that conversation happening in your head, which makes it more engaging. And as copywriters, we're all about engagement, right? It makes it more engaging, it makes it more communicative, and I think more conversational in style, and it takes away, and immediately you have ideas to write, because you're not thinking, oh God, I don't know what to write, I'm stuck. You're thinking, I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to talk to Shivanshi, and we're going to have a conversation about writer's block. There's no problem. We've got a conversation happening. If I was, you know, does that make sense? I'm just talking about...
Absolutely. No, yeah. It's amazing, to be honest. It's crazy. I know it sounds crazy because you're sort of talking to yourself. You can also stand in front of mirror. But it sounds crazy, but it's amazing. It's a very good idea. I mean, I've never thought about it from a perspective that you're actually having a conversation from your own self. And you have those ideas, you're not able to fetch them. That's what a writer's block is, to be honest. It's a brilliant way to actually get that block out. Very smart.
It's just an idea. I think sometimes, again, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And when we look at it from another angle and we just try and look at it from a place of, let's just have some fun with this, you know? And also, here's another tip. When you open up your laptop, okay, and you're about to type something, say a topic you need to write about, you've got the brief, it's there, but you don't know where to start. As copywriters, we know that we're all about crafting it, right? We're not thinking, when we're just trying to get the idea down, we just get it down. So this is a tip for anyone struggling with a writer's block. If you don't know what to say when you sit down and you're about to write, start with saying, I don't know what to say about this topic. I know I want it. Then before you know it, you will start to say what you need to say while you're typing it. Let me give you an example because it might be a bit confusing. So, for example, say I want to say, right, okay, I need to write this post about writer's block, but I don't know what to say. Okay, so I would type, if I didn't know what to say, I need to type about writer's block. I don't know what to write. I want to say something about what it feels like when I'm stuck, when I feel like I have no ideas, I'm struggling with how to put this together. Like, you start to say the things that you're struggling with. It's so strange, but it's almost like the brain starts to search for an answer. It's like you start typing the problem, like you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to write on this. I'm not sure. I know I want to say something about this. This is what I want to say. Oh, and then there's this idea I had. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Then I need to write this down. Oh, then that was quite good. I remember when I was stuck last week trying to write it, and then I did this, and it worked. And you just start piecing together, but you start with just kind of talking about what you need to do when you're sitting there. Right. As you get going, before you know it, the wheels start going in motion, and you start getting the ideas flowing. Because you're starting to get the brain to engage and take it off the thing it's focused on, which is I don't know what to write, and go into searching for the solution of, I know I need to write about this, so where do I start? And you just start like that, you know? And you can also just think about it like, you don't have to, sometimes we start at the beginning because we're programmed in school to always start at the beginning.
Yeah, right.
But what if that's not what comes to, what if that doesn't work for you? What if instead you've got ideas and it's right in the middle of the the piece of content you need to write. You know the how-tos, for example, the next steps, or the 5 ways, or the 7, ideas. So you're like,
not the introduction part.
Yeah, let's just start right there. Start right there with what you have. And then you can go back and you can figure out the introduction or the headline or the whatever. And then you can come back at the end and you can figure out the call to action, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I do think start with the call to action in mind of where you want to go. But ultimately, if you just start where you feel the ideas are there, start where you feel the ideas are there,
Very true. I think I think we all have done it at some or the other point. No, I need the introduction paragraph, and then only I will be able to move on. And then this is the flow of the blog, and this is the flow of how I should write.
Yeah.
I think that's one part of it. Like when it comes to blog, I think this is one of the reasons as well. We always have a lot of extensions that we use to make sure that the writing is up to date. It's clear, it's crisp, and it's clean. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people do, I still do it sometimes, which is wrong. I feel it's wrong. So if I've written a paragraph, I will be reading it again. Then I read the second paragraph. I will go to the first paragraph and read the whole thing and then make the changes. And then I will read third and read the first, second, third again. I just keep rotating and rotating and rotating, which is wrong. And I don't know, I have something in my mind. If I've written a paragraph, I need to make sure that it is spelled properly, the grammar is fine, it is done properly, written everything, which is wrong, which should not be done. I know I am wrong here, and it's just, I don't know, I have some mind issue related to how it has been formatted.
Yeah, okay. And that is such a common mistake. A lot of writers, as creatives, as content creators. Here's the tip I'd give you. A tip that I give to my clients. If they struggle with what to write, here's what I say. First of all, you just write. You don't edit.
You don't think.
You don't judge. You don't anything. You just open up your Google Doc and you write. And then
turn off the grammar check in that.
Yeah, don't look at grammar. Don't look at spelling. Don't look at punctuation. Don't look at anything like that. Just write it. And then I would urge you to just shut it down and then close your laptop and take a break. Walk away, leave it there, create some space between what you just created, and when you come back, you have like your hat for editing hat on. And then you go in now with fresh eyes but an analytical brain. So now you're looking at it from the perspective of, say, if you are a copywriter, you're looking at it from the perspective of, okay, I know I need to make this hook a lot more catchier. I know I need to make sure that this headline pops and is attention grabbing. I know I need to build in some stories, and I know I need to have some value stats put in there. Let me move that paragraph up to here and move this down to here, because that flows better into a CTA. Do you understand? Right. You start, but
I know.
Yeah, at this point, you're not in the creative mode because you've already had your fun. You've created it the other day or the other week or an hour or two ago. And now you're coming back as editor. And you edit at this point, and you're really you kind of come at it from a real critical eye. Okay? And then after that, and this is the most important bit. And I say this to clients who, sometimes my clients come to me and they're struggling with finding their authentic voice. The voice that's natural to them. In this world of it being so overly saturated, how do you stand out? Well, you stand out by, number one, yes, having a great offer and knowing who you're talking to, but also being true to yourself, right?
Showcasing who you are, actually.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So they struggle with that. So when they come, they say, but now I feel like when I write, it's so corporate or stiff or cold or lacks personality. I always say this. After they've done the first 2 steps, they've written it, they've gone away, they've come back, and they've now edited. They're editing. After that, this is the next step. You read it out loud. Read it out loud. Now, as you're reading it out loud, you're listening. You're listening and paying attention to, does that sound like me? Would I say that word? Because your brain's different. It works differently when you're writing and you're just in your head than when you're performing and you're saying it out loud. So when you say it out loud, that's the magic there, because that's when you start to hear if you are writing words that are in alignment with who you are, with how you
True.
sound, right?
True.
So
True.
once you read it out loud, then you're like, oh my God, this feels like me. This is me. This sounds like me. It's correct. It's in alignment, right? And then you hit publish. So you go through those steps. Those would be my 3 steps. To start with being creative, have fun, play, don't censor yourself. Take some come back, edit, be analytical, be a copywriter, be strategic, all of that stuff. Put in all your formulas and weave it all in. Then read it out loud. And when you're reading it out loud, you're asking yourself, is this something I would like to read? If I was the reader, the recipient of this, email,
will I be able to stick
would
to
I
this?
like it? Yeah. Would I engage? Would I want to click? Does she make me feel like I feel heard and seen and paid attention? Like, does she understand me or does he understand me? That's what you're paying attention to when you read it out loud. And then once you're happy with that and you tick all the boxes, hit publish and off you go.
I think, honestly, it's a very good and summarized way that you told me. But again, what happens is I can stop the grammar thing, I can do everything. But when it comes to formatting, there's one thing back of the mind. I'm like, the formatting is not correct. First look at it, the formatting. I can let go the grammar, I can let go the punctuations, I can let go the spelling. But when it comes to the formatting, I cannot. I don't know, just there's something in my mind which keeps saying if you're not able to format it properly, you won't be able to move forward. I'm so pissed off when the formatting is not correct. I mean, I cannot control myself. Format, so you should know how to format. That's the basic thing. You cannot let that go. Formatting is basic. You don't mess that up. I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God. Shivanshi, listen, darling. That sounds like perfectionism gone crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like perfectionism.
I'm crazy about getting my document. It should seem, like, for me, content is important. But at the same time, when you look at the document, you look how it looks.
Yeah.
And that's very important. I cannot just let it go. There's something in me, and I am like, if the formatting is not correct, I will sit half an hour, make every point, everything, block, H1, H2, H3, the normal context. I will format it in the best manner I can, and then only I will be able to get it. Some people are like, they use 1, 2, 3, then in the second point they have used dots. I'm like, no. I don't use dots. Keep consistency. Don't go it that way. I cannot let this go happen. And I hate it. I mean, no, that's not how you do it. There's this simple problem that you did. Why is this not formatted properly? Why is this not aligned properly? Where the space is not fine. I mean, when it comes to documents, especially these documents and graphics, I'm pretty pathetic. But when it comes to these content, I'm like, no, you're not going to mess this up. No one messes up with my content the way it has been written.
You know what I think? I think it's very relatable what you're saying. Because we put out the best work we can. That's okay. We have standards, right? We have standards and we want to hit those markers. But there comes a point when you've got to ask yourself, the person who needs to read this needs to read it now. If I just sit on this trying to make it perfect, it will never see the light of day. I need to get it into the hands of the people who need it most. They don't care. And believe me when I say this, because I work in this industry, I know it. People don't care massively if you've made a tiny little spelling mistake or you've missed the part. They're not looking at that. If the core essence of what you're saying really resonates, they will forgive you if there's a little typo or if the paragraph does this and doesn't do that. They will forgive you. And you have to forgive yourself and let it be that I sometimes make mistakes, but I get it out into the world because my message is more important than me.
True. It is. But it's hard. Trust me, it is hard. It's very challenging. And I think everyone has their personal biggest challenge. Like, I have a different challenge. I'm stuck with the way it has been formatted. You might be stuck with something else. Like, for me, this is something that is non-negotiable. For you, there might be something that is non-negotiable. And everyone has a definition. Though, what you said is absolutely right. The timelines matter. The way it is important that people should actually read it on time. what we are looking forward to. It should see the daylight, as you said. But I don't know. I would rather sit half an hour extra or half an hour before or 1 hour before to get it aligned properly instead of sending the document as it is.
I know what you mean. I mean, and you know what? I want to touch on that point you just said, because it might be relevant to anyone watching, which is the idea of the fact that we all have something that we struggle with, that sometimes it's a block for us. Sometimes it's the feeling that we're not, like, why me? Why have I been asked to write this? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I qualified enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I right enough? Am I whatever? We have those things that hold us back. It's those stories that come up and they tell us, they play on our insecurities, right? And that can be a block. Sometimes another block is that you just don't feel like you know where to start. And if as a copywriter, and this is another reason to go back, you know, we talked about content banking before, you know, like having a content bank. You have your post-it notes, which I love. And another idea I was going to say to people is, if, for example, you don't know what to write from scratch, here's a tip. Go back, say 3 to 6 months in the content that you've already shared. So say you are a podcaster or a video, maybe you create videos, or maybe you write blogs or something like that. Go back at all of that content that you've created over the last 3 to 6 months and have a look at it and ask yourself, do I agree with the perspective I had there today? Or have it changed? If it's changed slightly, then you can write a new post. You can create a new angle, write it from a new perspective. That's fresh content, right? True. That allows you to tap into content you've already created. It's your own bank of content, which is obviously of value because you've already shared it with the world. You know it's going to be of value also to your audience because it's on point. It's the same kind of subject matters, right? You're not going off on a tangent.
True.
So I would say start there. Have a look at what it is that you've done before. Content mine. I call this content mining your own material. So
it's very important.
Look, yeah.
Actually, so I learned it, I think, around 6-7 months back, that if you've shared something before and people really liked it at that point of time, so the chances of them liking it again is higher.
Yes.
So you just need to pick the content, recreate it, even if you agree with it, just recreate it as you said. If you don't, then add a new perspective to it and reshare it. Don't delete the old one. If you want to, then delete it. Reshare it. I mean, I recently did it this Monday, like 5 days back. I posted a piece of content on LinkedIn, which I shared around a year back. And it worked, I think, 3 times better than all the posts that I have been working since last week. Last month. I got, there was a 300% increase in the engagement, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So it worked perfectly. I think that's a very good idea. Sometimes you're out of, as you said, sometimes you're out of ideas. Use the old ideas that you have. And resharing those ideas, don't just click on reshare though. Just make sure that you're copy pasting it and editing in a little way. But yeah, that's actually a good idea.
And you know what? I want to share this other idea, this other tip, because I really want people to not have to struggle with writer's block ever again. Like, we don't have to struggle with writer's block. So let me share this other tip with you. Okay, so you're creating, let's use blogging, a blog post as an example, okay? So you're writing a blog post. I want you to have what I call a spider's web mentality. A spider's web mentality. I'm going to explain what it is. So when you're going through your content creation process, say you're writing a blog. I'm going to use my business as an example because it's most familiar and common to me, but you can apply this to yourself. So say I'm writing a blog post and it's about, like, say the topic is, do I need a website for my business? Okay. As I'm writing it, now, when you're in the writings, when you're in your flow and you're writing, you know what I mean when I say ideas just keep coming because you're in the zone, right?
Right.
When you're in that mindset, pay attention. Pay attention to other ideas that don't quite fit on this topic, but could be a beautiful spider web off of this topic. For example, I might do this. Do I need a website for my business blog post? Off the back of that, thinking, oh, I should do a blog post about the 10 best website templates on the market. Or I might how to lay out your homepage that for the best conversions. Or I might do another, you know what I mean? I'm getting all these ideas. Another idea like, 3 ways to write your about page that sounds amazing. Or, how to write copy for your website that attracts your ideal customers. All of these are blog topic ideas that literally have spun off like a spider web off of this one post, gone in all different directions. And then I'm writing these ideas down. I'm just writing it down, like I'm writing my blog post and I'm like, I should write about, the about page. So then I'll write that as like another idea to come back later. And then before you know it, you've filled up your calendar. I don't know, say you were to post a fresh piece of content once a week. Off of one post, you could have another 5 ideas. That's over a month worth of content sitting there in the bank, ready for you to go back to when you need an idea.
Very true. I think, and it also helps you in SEO in terms of internal linking as well, internal backlinking. It's a very good impact in terms of SEO as well. So it's a very smart move to actually do it.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely, I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any more points that you would like to share?
No, I think just really just to say that we've got to look at how we frame copyright, like how we frame the idea of being mentally stuck or blocked, and just know that we're creative beings and that it doesn't serve us to think that we've got anything blocking us, So maybe we reframe it, we use it, change the dialogue or change the narrative in our head. So we're not coming at it from the angle of, oh my God, I can't do this, I have writer's block. Instead, you know what? I'm a creative force. I'm powerful. I've got energy and ideas that just flow through me. Now they're not flowing right now, but it's fine. I'm going to go do something else and they'll be there when I come back.
Right. Sometimes you just need to go a little easy on yourself.
Be kind.
Right. Just right. Consider yourself as human.
Exactly.
Which a lot of us actually forget when it comes to us. I mean, if you walk up to me and you say I'm not able to get ideas, I'm like, that's all right. Take a day or two. That's all right. It happens. But you will be like, no, man, I should get all the ideas. Why is this happening to me? Like, I understand. I understand. That's
sometimes we have to talk to ourselves like we would a client or a best friend.
Correct.
We're so much
sympathizing ourselves.
Yeah, we're gentle to other people more than we are to ourselves, and sometimes we need to just be kind to ourselves.
True. Very true. Very well said. You should put that as a quote on your Instagram profile. You have got a lot of content now. A lot of things to talk about.
Got content ideas. Did anyone have questions? Did you want to see if they wanted?
Yeah.
Anyone has any?
I think there's a few questions that someone asked, but I don't know if we can access them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the question box below on the screen, right next to add a comment. It's the right side of it. So, because on the screen we actually lose the track while talking and discussing around the topic. We lose the track of how many people are asking what questions. So that's around it. It was lovely to have you here. I mean, it was an amazing call. Trust me, it was beautiful to have you here. I learned so much myself. I felt so good that there are other writers who are facing issues like formatting. Related to that, but yeah, somewhere around there.
We can talk. We could do another, we'll do another chat about formatting if you want, or how we structure.
I'm not gonna get into it.
Maybe that would be
I will open my laptop and be like, this is not how it should be done. Formatted properly, full stop, comma. Put two spaces here. Actually, this came up to me earlier. Was not that particular about how it has to be done. So I worked with a company based out of New York. I was a customer success manager there. So there I used to write help desk articles because it was a SaaS company. So there are regular updates and help desk. So there they had a particular format of how it has to be done. From that place, I got somehow so much intricate about how it has to be done in a proper format. And I don't like it even if an image comes into, okay, there has to be two space, then it has to be two space. You're not going to put 3 or 1 or 5. And from that place, I got that into me, and I cannot just let it go. It became part of my personality after that.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, you know what? We are programmed where we work, and before we kind of start our own business and stuff.
True.
We're like little sponges, and we absorb what, you know, especially our first place of employment, especially if it's corporate, we really absorb a lot. I've come from the corporate industry background as myself, and it takes a lot to shed that cloak when you go out on your own and you set up your own business, because you can make it in your own way. And I think it's really important to allow yourself that freedom to say, oh, I don't have to follow all the rules. That is part of copywriting, right? That's part of copywriting.
Right.
We break rules. We have our own rules, and then we break some rules. You know, like we break some like proper serious grammatical rules in copy. Like you can't have a one-worded sentence, and you can't start a sentence with and or but you can, and you should.
Yeah, you should.
It's part of it being conversational. When you're having, and that's another reason why I mentioned just chatting. Like imagining you're just talking to someone before you write, because when you're having this kind of back and forth conversation, you're not thinking about grammar. You're not thinking about whether you said that, oh God, did I say that right? And you don't beat yourself up in the moment, you know, to chat, especially if you're with your friends. And that's what you want. You want to kind of transfer that over to where you write, to your business when it comes to writing copy, is to just come from a perspective of, I want to just have a conversation with you about whatever it is. And I want to keep it really, and I want to keep it, you know what I mean? And I know that when you get to the end of this, that you should want to take action, because this is going to help you. That's the mindset. But ultimately, you're not coming at it from, oh my God, if I don't spell every single thing correctly and don't have 2 spaces between each thing. And, you know, it's like you're operating with like one hand behind your back. And that's never fun. You know, you want to have. I
think because when you actually have been working before you actually start something of your own, you pick as a human being, as you said, you absorb things. Some things you let them go, some things just, they stay with you for a very long time, and they become part of your personality. Yes. I mean, when I joined the company that I was talking about, last company, I was very underconfident in terms of talking to people who are not influenced. I was very underconfident, but now they were a New York-based company. All their clients were international.
Yes.
And we have a different accent. It became super difficult for me to actually understand. Like right now, I'm very communicative with you, but all thanks to that job. I did that job. I took a few courses of understanding UK English, British English, US English, American English. I somehow got a grasp of it. I talked to a lot of people. After that, I was able to get a grasp of it, and I was able to communicate properly and understand what the other person is saying.
Yes.
Before that, if I used to watch something or maybe talk to someone, half of the time I was lost. What exactly is this the way of saying it? It's very different from mine, because we Indians have a different accent. It's our own accent that we talk in. And it's very difficult to communicate altogether. So I think with everything that you do, there's a part of you that change. And that stays with you.
Really?
Some things are good, some things are bad. But I think that's how it is.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that what you said just there at the end. And sometimes, maybe this is a nice way to kind of wrap it up, is just you take all those lessons you've learned along the way, you take them and you apply them in your own way, you know, as you move forward. You know, so there's the things that you take, and nothing's a mistake. Are there really any mistakes? If anything, you learned from it. And the fact that you learned from it is great. And you can apply it now to your business moving forward in a way that works for you now, you know, and you keep growing, you keep evolving. This is natural stuff. It's good.
True. Okay. It was lovely having you again. I'm looking forward to some other live, maybe next month or coming months.
Just hit me up. Yeah, reach out. I would love that, darling. I would love it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming here. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you everyone for coming in.